3-3.
Everfrog Esports trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a wall. DY gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
A beast mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga4 is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Pulse Bomb's gonna stick on the Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3. Melophobia starting the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the 8? They get the 8.
And another week, another CGL Season 16 match coming your way. We have playoffs finally arriving here, Dex, and I am more than excited to finally cover exactly what we've been seeing from the regular season. Our teams that have shown out for the entirety of these 8 weeks and have made it, have qualified into the playoffs. And here are 2 from the Masters division. We have SCR Ascendants coming up against DYS Spectre. Very excited to see exactly how these teams are going to stack up, especially with the bracket now live on the CGL website. We can have a quick little gander at who made it in this top 8 from the Masters division.
Yeah, you see it right there. SCR Ascendants taking on DYS Spectre. Our game here, you see the rest of that bracket right there as well. This is the 4-5 matchup, so realistically, this should be one of the closer matchups this entire, or in this part of the tournament. However, Mont, these 2 teams, they played each other very recently. Counted 2 weeks ago, the final week of the regular season. It was SCR Ascendants that came on top of that one, 3-2 in a Map 5 series.
And I want to see the same thing happen here, right? And the storyline is you want to get the reversal. You want to get the 1-up on the team that did just beat you 2 weeks ago. So why not start off anywhere else than here in playoffs, round 1, make it nice, make it good, and give us a good series. And why not start off on one of the, honestly, best maps to do it on is Lijiang Tower. We have a best of 5 first 2-3 series happening for you guys today. And Lijiang, honestly, again, I think one of the better places to take it all and hopefully get the win here.
Yeah, we always talk about Lijiang is probably one of the best maps you can start out on. It's been in the game forever. If you've been playing it since the original launch of Overwatch back in 2016, it's been there. You know what to expect. You can play a lot of different compositions on it, so you get a who's who of what each team really wants to play here. So there's a lot that can come out from both these teams here. But we talk about what we're gonna see. However, let's talk about what we're not gonna see here. SCR Ascendants getting the first ban out here. And Mott, I mean, I feel like me and you have cast enough here. You know what I would always say. You go after one of the supports. You go after, if you're going to go after DPS, you probably go after Tracer on the first map. Those are very safe bans. But these last couple weeks, we've been seeing a lot of different bans come out here. We've seen tanks. Well, SCR Ascendants, they don't even want to wait the whole minute. They don't want to see the Cyborg Ninja.
No, they really don't. The Genji ban coming out of the gate. And mind you, Dex, we just got a patch 1 hour ago, now albeit a ghost patch. You know, there's a little bit of a bug, a visual bug happening on the Blizzard website as well as in-game. But there are some notes, some things to make note of. There have been adjustments across all of the roles of our characters here. We have some nerfs to Kiriko, for example, some really big buffs to Brig, Juno, and Lifeweaver, though. So, as you mentioned, those support buffs, or excuse me, the support ban might become more impactful as we now go go over to the side of Spectre. They can't go for DPS ban, which again, that role had a couple of adjustments specifically to your characters like Echo, to Mei, your flex DPSs alongside your soldiers and sombras of the world. However, I think, notably, I think a tank ban here might be super duper impactful. Me when I lie? Me Kiriko ban off map 1? Dex, this is unprecedented. This is unprecedented to have a Kiriko ban before map 3.
Well, you really have to think about it like this. That patch just happened, and a lot of times you don't normally see teams go away from stuff that they've been playing with and really have a lot of experience on in the past between patches here. So you're not going to get much change here. I think in this match, maybe matches tomorrow and Thursday, you'll start to see a little bit of changes come out here, not only in composition, just in bans. I think that Kiriko is really one of the safer bans you can make map 1, and it allows you to play some other heroes, maybe something like an Ana if you truly want to play that on map 1, especially with it being Li Jiang, how I already mentioned. You can play a little bit of everything on that map. However, you see the bans there? Apparently, none of these teams really like any Japanese characters, as those two are banned out first here. But how about going away from the bans, we introduce you to the team, starting off with SCR Ascendants.
And I cannot wait to see these 5 players really bring it out here. We have that Pig Whips, we have Marlin, we have Accordi, Milo, and Pixens. Super excited to see all these guys come back. You see some favorites already on the board here. The Roadhog, I think, is pretty notable, as he has been relatively a menace, you know, with a one-shot back in that toolkit as of the previous patch, not this recent patch, of course. Alongside that, I think with this Reaper and this Tracer from SCR Ascendants, at least favorite-wise, are likely going to be some consistent picks, especially just because Reaper is so strong at the moment, and Tracer is Tracer. She kind of never really falls out of style. She's something that kind of always comes back in some way, shape, or form. But with that being said, SCR Ascendants looking to find the win here again against DYS Spectre as we go into their lineup. Nope, into us, actually. We're going to go right back to us. And we're going to wait for our teams to confirm if they're ready to go for Lijiang Tower. But Dex, I think this is going to be a really fantastic series on our hands today. Starting things off strong for playoffs.
Yeah, especially with SCR Ascendants right there. A lot of members of that team were part of another org called Bliss. So they've been around. Most of them have actually played on the same teams in the past. So you have a core of this team that has played together, has some experience playing together. And that normally does go a long way in these tournaments like CGL and a lot of the other ones out there, where if you have a core team, even though you might be a new team, you're going to see, you know, a little bit of that old core start to rise to the occasion and really carry the team out here. So SCR, I mean, I believe they come in as the 4th seed here, 5-3 on the season, if I'm remembering correctly. So a really, really good team here, especially in this Masters tier, which, I mean, you could have, I always look at it as saying, you could have the number 1 team going up against the team at the bottom and still have a very, very close series.
Yeah, for sure. They made it for a reason. You know, these are the top 8 hard hitters of the Masters division from the regular season, duking it out for 8 weeks straight. And finally, looks like we may, in fact, have our next lineup ready to go in just a little bit, however. With that being said, DYS Spectre, here they are, all 5 of them ready to duke it out. Domino coming in here. We have Ken alongside him. We have Ecliptic, we have Wisdom, and Twisted coming in as the starting 5 roster here for DYS Spectre. Very excited to see exactly how they're going to be using some of these heroes to their advantage, especially, again, Diva having been slightly adjusted in this patch that just happened 1 hour ago. We also have the Tracer, possibly a Tracer mirror happening between both of these teams. So that's also going to be something very interesting to note, especially with a map like Lijiang, where you know where Tracers want to play, you know where they have all their 1v1s, and especially on Night Market, especially on Garden. So I really, genuinely cannot wait to see exactly how these guys stack up against the opposition and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about seeing a Tracer mirror. I feel like unless Tracer's banned, you're going to probably most likely see a Tracer mirror. Like you kind of always said, Tracer has been, well, a consistent hero. No matter what the meta is, Tracer is kind of right there with it. Outside of that, though, it's going to be really interesting to see what we see be played, especially at that hit scan role. Do we see teams go hit scan here? You have Domino that does show us Ashe, so maybe you have Freya, Cass, Hanzo in there potentially, but do we see a little bit of that double flex DPS come out? Do we see a Venture with Tracer? Do we see the Reaper with Tracer as well? I mean, Zarya right now still relatively strong, and I know some people are not necessarily happy about that, but let's be honest, it's been about 5 years since the last time that Zarya was at all relevant in the game. But, I mean, as we head into our first map here, it's going to be really interesting to see what we honestly see from these teams. It's going to tell us a lot about what we should expect to see from them throughout the rest of the series here, especially on that support line. Because as you see, the 4 supports right there, I mean, you could see them come out with that, but I don't necessarily expect to see that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Favorite heroes versus what works, it's always can be so polarizing, right? Can be so different to what the meta or what the gameplay demands of our backliners. I would love to see Life Weaver. I would love to see Wu Yang. I would love to see Lucio. And Lucio might be the one that does kind of stick alongside Wu Yang. And as you can see, absolutely every day of the week, we're going to be seeing that Lucio and the Baptiste from Pix and from Wisdom here. Ecliptic on the Orisa so far. And we can, as you mentioned, Zarya has been strong for a very long time now, especially with this patch, or this new, latest patch, and is going to continue to be a menace, especially with Cordy running the character here out of the spawn room. And as expected, we have Ken likely going over to the Tracer post teleporter. Pig Whips might be going over the Reaper, so that could be a Zar Reaper, absolutely, yep, what's been really strong as of late decks.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's been one of the things like a lot of people are kind of complaining about with that right there, but say sayonara to Pixins right there.
I couldn't even give you a chance to talk about what we could be seeing because Ecliptic teleport in, got the spear on the poor old Baptiste, didn't even give them a chance to stabilize in the fight whatsoever without their BAP to give a mentality, to give a shift. And just like that, Spectre with an absolutely explosive start really get the point going in their favor, and they're going to start pushing up into Ascendants' space.
Yeah, honestly, I was going to say, Ascendants, if they stuck with that Symmetra, I think they would have been in a really good spot. Having 2 direct counters to Ecliptic on that Orisa would have made them their life a little bit of a living hell here, but now, Dystopia here already set up on point. Those turrets from Ken are going to be all over the place. Marlon, though, trying to get in this backline here to open up some space so the team can charge into the point.
Well, they did force out that heal from Twisted, right? It's really good for Marlon, but Marlon's recall was just forced out, and you can already see we have a medium charge Zarya coming in from A40, and you need to make sure you stay alive, and Marlon gets the elimination onto Domino against arguably that counter against the Tracer. Thankfully, does get traded off against Twisted, getting the boop, so it's a 4v4 either way for both of these teams here. Can try stabilize. We also have Wisdom in the back line, keeping everyone up with relative ease as well, and it looks like Ascendants are going to back up. Respect this 50% taken over by Spectre so far.
I love how Spectre's playing this. They're playing far back. They're really forcing Ascendants to be that one that engages on. But you're seeing it right there. Ken puts that TP up to get back to the other side of point. It's working out perfectly for them.
Oh, and there's the Terror Surge, but we are able to LOS it in time. But as we LOS the Terror Surge out of the coastline, we go into the point into a high charge Symmetra from Ken. Deadeye is online. The big old photon barrier does kind of assist in this fight a little bit here for Spectre, as they are starting to clean up the fray easily. Marlon finds Domino once again in the thick of the fight, but taken out by Wisdom, looking so good at that as they close in on 80%.
And right now, if you're Ascendants, it's going to be your last team fight here if you lose it. You have 4 ultimates coming up, and now Marlon making a swap over to the Pharah. Domino should be able to deal with them here a little bit, but all you really need is one pick here to go your way if you're SCR, who desperately needs something to go their way here as they pop the Amp Matrix first to try to buy some space.
They sure do, and that damage output is just enough to decimate that iron wall that is an Orisa like Ecliptic. And thankfully, they can kind of finish up the fight just like that, only expanding that Amplification Matrix, only using, and thankfully, Spectre didn't use anything else in that regard.
Yeah, and I mean, right there, I mean, both teams did exactly what they need to do there, and especially, I think, Spectre, once they lost Ecliptic, they understood that was going to be a lost fight. Just don't invest anything in it, and SCR, they did a good job as well, just saying, hey, we won the fight, we don't need to overinvest here, because we're going to have a couple tough fights coming up here, though. Marlon, though, on this far, it's going to be a big difference maker. Like I said, if they can find one pick early on, it helps their team out a lot with this kind of snowball-ish comp coming out here now from Ascendants, but still, Domino going to have this dead. I going to buy some space, but the grab is huge.
And the sound barrier also layer on top of that to make sure we can stay alive is great from Twisted, but Wisdom is not going to be able to find any sort of benefit in that regard, and the damage output from that Death Blossom means that is going to be certain victory, at least for now, for Ascendants. There is going to be the shutdown of the Pig and Pixons here. However, the sound barrier coming in from Milo might just be what we need for Ascendants to continue this point in their favor, to continue being aggressive against Spectre. Icordi taken down by Ken. We walk in with the Deadeye, and now suddenly, Dex, we've flipped the advantage.
Yeah, I understood why Milo used the beat there. I thought it was a good beat, but I think they just played a little bit over-aggressive after that. However, they need to get some touches here. That's not who you want to see fall, but Pig keeping this fight alive.
Not for very long, though. Amplification Matrix alongside a Cassidy. Not my favorite duo, only because I am the receiver of a lot of damage output from a Cassidy and an Amp Matrix. That being said, it's a 1v1 between Icordi and this Tracer. We're going to be seeing the recall forced and burned out, but you know what, Dex? They got to overtime. They're okay with that. All they need to do is use his Terror Surge wisely.
Ult economy has basically been reset now for both these teams. They both invested a lot in the last fight, trying to either keep it alive or end it here. Terror Surge, like I said, could be huge, but the barrage gets denied! And bye!
And literally just by spinning the Zarya off the map and layering that with the boop. There was no way that tank passive was going to keep Zarya alive any longer. And there it is, overtime starts to tick on in Milo for a lack of a contest, and that's going to be the first objective secured for DYS Spectre, but not without bleeding a little bit here.
Yeah, a really slow start for Ascendants there, and once they got control of the point, they started to look a little bit differently. They started to play a little bit differently, because up until that point, they were really struggling to find any sort of success just with either getting picks or just getting space. Ecliptic on that Orisa is playing it absolutely perfectly, and I felt like Spectre was playing that defensive point capture perfectly as well, especially once they got control of it. They were playing back, forcing Ascendants to, engage them onto the point. Ken was using those TPs perfectly. Like I said, they were always getting up to the other side of the point once you saw Ascendants come in, and it worked out a lot because Spectre, yeah, my bad. Ascendants was trying to figure out, do they turn around or do they have to keep pushing forward? And a lot of times, they didn't pick right. But right now, no big swaps coming out here for either team. A little bit of a surprise, especially heading on to this point, which is a little bit more brawly than what a Night Market is.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Control Center might be the more brawlier of the three sub-maps available on Lijiang Tower. And with that being said, Ken is going to be taking care of, or sticking onto the Symmetra here, setting up those turrets on the opposing side of the room, really keeping Marlon in check as well. Force to grab that mini health pack, also forcing out that Mortality Field is big. But while we're in the back, tickling the backline, Ken is plowing down the field, is finding Milo in that regard on the Symmetra, and more so, we have to respect this space, and Ascendants bringing out a oldie but a classic, the Brig and the Juno being swapped over to.
Yeah, I like this swap here now for Ascendants. They want to play a little bit more brawly. The Zarya has to be that kind of brawl tank right now, going up into Ecliptic, who, again, they're a direct counter to, so that you need to find some opening. I think the Brig helps you out there a little bit, but Icordi needs to stay alive here.
And not going to be able to, again, being in the throes of this Orisa and this Symmetra. Just constant on top of you is so difficult to do. Yeah, Pigwhips, you almost got out of that, buddy, but you had nothing else to go for.
Oh, jeez. They keep playing by the edge. I mean, that would have been, I believe, the fourth environmental kill right there if that would have happened. But again, Ascendants right now, they kind of seem a little bit lost. They're trying to have, it looks like Marlon, take up space, try to just buy some time, maybe even get a pick, but nothing's really working out. However, Domino, away from their team, gets taken out early on, and now it seems like Ascendants, they want to invest.
Oh, we're going to invest that over to Ray here through the wall, giving so much of availability to the side of Ascendants to take this fight off in their favor, and not without losing one, though, that being Milo on that Brigida, taken down by the horse. But this is a much earlier flip than we had seen on round one, so this is a lot of time to work with that Ascendants has suddenly in the back pocket.
Yeah, but you look at Spectre, they had ultimates they could have invested there, but once you got that orbital ray out from the other side, they decided not to invest anything. Now they come back in using two, and Ken already finding Icordi out. This could be a short point cap here for the Ascendants.
Oh, it sure will. I mean, you walk out as Zarya, and you see a Photon Barrier, an Orisa Shield, and the Amplification Matrix, and you can only do so much to run away. What a quick fight there, Dex, and they still have three really big ults to expend here.
Yeah, like, Spectre's been doing a really good job just holding on to these ultimates, waiting for the opportune time to use them. Ascendants, on the other hand, it just seems like they're just hoping and praying that they're going to be able to find value with theirs.
And they're going to use that sound barrier alongside, or in response to the Graviton Surge. The Terror Surge also gets expended here at the same time. And of course, of all things, that does take care of Icordi. It's going to be Domino not only getting that Hinder Nade onto the Zarya, but also finds three others under his belt.
Accordi getting off the Zarya here after, I mean, not that much success with it, going up to the Wrecking Ball instead, and not even going to be able to get back in touch point in time to proc overtime. Dystopia Spectre going to take our first map, and honestly, that second point, Mott was just dominant from them.
It absolutely was. Map 1, or excuse me, technically it's map 1. Round 1 felt so much closer between the two. There was made good back and forth between the Orisa and the Zarya. There were really good picks, especially happening with Marlon on that Tracer earlier on. Even Pig Whips got a lot of value on that Reaper, but it kind of came down to I think just how Control Center is built. And when you're stuck in that chokehold area around your, of course, around your spawn, it gets harder to push through. It gets harder to regain that dominance. And I also want to say alongside that, you have a Symmetra whom is set up on those points, who is able to hunker down with her turrets and really put in the hurt on your Zaryas, your Reapers, your Tracers of the world.
Yeah, and remember, I talked about it a little bit after the first fight on that map, the fact that, you know, Zarya should be able to beat out Orisa much of the time, considering, like, hey, there's really not much that Orisa can do other than fortify to deal or to negate some of the beam damage, because Zarya's always looked at one of those counters, but it was never a problem for him. Right now, Dystopia Spectre did a really good job just controlling the space that the Zarya was able to get, and we're starting to see this a little bit more here now, where some teams just don't care if the enemy Zarya bubbles. They'll just pop the bubbles because they want to get to the flesh faster there, and that's what you always saw. Accordi was trying to take space, investing those bubbles very fastly, and a lot of those times, you saw them really struggle to, you know, get a lot of value off them. Yeah, they're getting highly charged, but they were dying pretty fast there as well, so Ascendants, they have some stuff they need to work on here, especially if they want to stick with the Zarya going into map number 2. We don't know what it is just yet, but I mean, they gave us some hope on the first point that maybe they were just a little bit off to a slow start and they would get better. I think with the earlier cap we saw on point 2, we thought like, hey, there we go, they're getting a little bit better, but then it was a quick team fight after that, and it seemed like they lost all momentum they had and went all the way back to square one and never were able to get past square number 2.
Yeah, I had to agree with you there. You know, typically on paper, Orisa and Zarya, the matchup is, I always kind of attribute to, they don't care about each other. Zarya can bubble herself out of the terror surge, and most of Orisa's in approaching cooldowns. Orisa can gold out of Graviton Surge. She can really just kind of mitigate the pressure of a Zarya unless she's super high charge, which at that point, that's why the shield is such a good perk to use against a Zarya in that regard. And the fact that there was almost like a lack of care from Spectre. Oh, you're high charge? You had no bubbles. What are you going to do? Survive? That's just not going to happen on these parts. So you're right. You know, I do think that there is a sort of hope coming in from that round 1 from Ascendants that makes us, you know, even though they got almost full health on second point, there is something there. They still have their mechanics behind them. They still have what they want to play, and maybe it's not going to be Brawl this time because it looks like we do have our... Whoa, I'm crazy. It might be Brawl again because we're going to go over to Saravasa. On my peripherals, I thought that was Numbani, and I was like, oh, what a change of pace. No, we're going Saravasa. It's all Brawl here.
Don't worry, I was crazy once. But Saravasa, I mean, it's kind of just flowing right from Lijiang Tower into, you know, another Control-esque map with Flashpoint. This, though, you have to be a little bit faster on it. And while, yes, you can still play Brawl, you still do see a lot of teams kind of stray away from it at times. This is a map, in particular, you could see, honestly, Dive come out here and still find a decent amount of value, especially with some of the high grounds on the first point. You see teams sometimes come out on Wrecking Ball, Winston, D.Va, some of those Brawl tanks that can, you know, get up to that high ground and really can help their support and DPS who are up there just contest that point. But, I mean, if we do end up seeing the Zarya again come out here from SCR, I don't necessarily know if it would be the right thing. I mean, you had that strong combo with Zarya and Reaper that we kind of talked about a little bit before map 1, and especially after we saw SCR play it, but they had 2 grabs and 2 Death Blossoms, and I think they had only found 1 kill from it. Like, they comboed that each time and ended up really losing the fight that they comboed that in. So I think if you're going to bring us to Saravasa, you kind of have to go away from what you were showing us in map 1 with that Zarya and show something else here. If you're DYS, I mean, you could just continue running what you were running until really SCR shuts you down.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you here, you know? I'm a little worried to go from Brawl to Brawl back to back like this when typically the brawl was very much in favor of Spectre here, 100%, but the Ascendants also have the opportunity to have that first ban here in the character selection screen, and we could just go for a straight Orisa ban, just take her out of the equation, and also inadvertently protect a Zarya if they want to continue that Zarya Reaper and Tracer composition that they had really shown some flexibility with, some success with on first round Lijiang Tower. Instead, it's going to be the D.Va coming out of the fray, no longer allowed to be played here on Saravasa. And with that being said, that leaves open a DPS or support ban. Of course, not able to ban Kiriko once again, but Spectre, I think, are okay with their odds here.
Yeah, and I mean, the banning out of D.Va kind of still does play into a little bit of what I said, like, hey, this is a dive map sometimes. D.Va definitely comes out here a lot, Wrecking Ball comes out here a lot, but it also could mean that SCR really wants to try to play the Zarya here again, and they want to get rid of one of the direct counters to it, at least being able to eat grab and a lot of damage coming out from them. But, I mean, maybe you just know that DYS might have a good D.Va player on their squad here. So, again, I think that's a very safe ban, especially for this map. But now, like you said, DYS, they can pick DPS or support here. They ban out support map 1. I could honestly see them doing it here again and going after someone like Brig, one that we saw SCR kind of go to last map, even though they struggled with it. But, hey, they decided to go away from that and instead bring out the Rock Muncher themselves on the Venture. They'll be setting out this one here. So, honestly, I think these are two really good bans. You see Venture actually get a decent amount of play on this map, and we're going to end up seeing more environmental kills, aren't we?
Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way. I better see more environmental kills on Temple, specifically. That's kind of the bread and butter of a lot of environmentals, even on Ruins, to an extent, that little mini-pack area on the balcony. But you're right. I think Venture being a ban here is very standard, not just because of them as a character, but also them as a character on Saravasa, specifically, or any of the Flashpoint maps. I think that also includes like New Jung City. They can be so strong. So these bans make complete sense in the context of going over to Saravasa. We also have a substitution on the line here coming in from SCR Ascendants. We're going to have Bonker come through, looking like maybe they want to play a ball at the same time, given, of course, their favorite hero, but this is just for fun. We never actually know what they're going to be rolling out with, funnily enough, on Saravasa as we load in sooner than later. But I will say, you know, bringing out, I think from Ascendants, also bringing out the Brig and the Juno at a little bit earlier on at Lijiang Tower was so interesting. And that's all I want to say. I think it was very interesting to see the Brig and Juno come back as a backline that really hasn't had too much spotlight in a couple of months at this point.
Yeah, it's been a while here, but I mean, Accordi coming out here. Remember, Accordi played Zar throughout the entirety of map 1. Bonker coming in. Wrecking Ball could definitely be a case here. Like I mentioned, this is honestly a really good map for Wrecking Ball. A lot of good places to grapple to. You have a lot of good places where you can find those environmental kills, as we already kind of talked about. And this is one of those maps where, hey, if you're on that ball, you can kind of just roll in, roll out, and really that's all you need to do here. But right now, Bonker showing us maybe a little bit of the Samoan brick wall himself there on the Malga. But outside that, Marlon getting off the Tracer, going over to Genji. Same thing with Ken. Ken was playing Sim last map and honestly did a really good job on the Sim. And you could do Sim on this map, but again, I think you don't necessarily want to have that kind of same play. Ecliptic, though, showing us Zarya themselves after playing a really good Orisa last map. Domino going over to another hit scan on the Soj. I think Disruptor Shot is still very good, especially in shutting down certain angles. And hey, remember, Kiriko's banned out last map. You're seeing both teams now play the Kiriko, and hey, mirroring support lines.
Absolutely. Almost a full mirror here, save for that Hiscan and that tank roll. And here comes that charge in from the Mauga, but unfortunately, that is a lot of charge given to the Zarya for its second there. Bonker barely dropping below 100 HP, but thankfully able to restabilize with the team here. Ecliptic does call out that pig whips on the angle, kind of overextended maybe a tiny too far into the Zarya's close encounters. And with that being said, Milo so low, trying to find a little bit of reprieve, but couldn't find it besides the other end of the Lucio. That being said, though, Domino is barely staying alive, mind you, as at 30 HP that entire fight. The Disruptor Shot, however, takes care of the opposition, and all it's a matter of doing is cleaning up the fray for Ecliptic, who is only a half charge right now.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily matter. In fights with Zarya, if they're still in the fight, their team is not necessarily knocked out. So even though you had that 2-for-2 trade, Ecliptic was able to do so much, especially since Bonker was one of the members that fell for Ascendants there. Now, though, DYS has this point controlled here. It's going to be very difficult, in my opinion, for Ascendants to kind of come in here and find some opening, because you're going to need Bonker to go charging in. But you've seen it there. There are a couple times they've gone charging in. They always end up backing out immediately with about 100 HP, which for Amalga is not good.
It's a little scary to deal with, right? And on top of that, you don't have anyone to follow up with you, because Marlon has been taken down again by Domino. Ken takes care of the other the DPS on the fray. And with that being said, the fight pretty much ended as quickly as it had started. We charge in, lose 2, and then lose the rest of the team here.
And right now, Spectre's DPS line is picking up right where they left off from map number 1. I mean, Domino and Ken got all 5 kills in that last fight there. They opened it and ended it very, very quickly. At SCR, they need to try to figure something out here. They need to play more as a team, especially with Bonker and that DPS line they have. They can play very cohesively. They just need to be on top of their communication here, knowing when Bonker's going to go charging in, because Marlon and Pig can definitely find kills after they come spiking down on the ground. But here comes the Blade.
Oh, and Milo didn't have the sound barrier to negate it. Of course, that was going to be the first target of choice anyway. It's still a trade-off. Milo for Domino, for Marlon, for Twisted. It's a completely even 3v3 at the moment, but with the fall of Ecliptic, I mean, you kind of are overly relying on just your Kiriko and Genji to stall a lost point. Hello? Hello?
Okay.
Wait, the point... Dex, we have cleared the point. The Kiriko is dead. We have killed her.
I mean, hey, I don't hate the usage of it there. Probably could have been better for maybe a little bit later, but you want to get that 1 kill, because you never know what a Kiriko can do. We've seen Kiris pop off and find 3 picks that I don't think anyone expects them to, but you look at Spectre here, that's not necessarily a bad fight to lose. You're coming in with 4 ultimates. Yeah, Ascendants are going to have 3 of their own here, but if Milo's the first one to fall here, you have no beat to negate the grab that's going to come out here from Spectre.
Well, continue rush down on the field. We teleport in. You see the, of course, the cage fight does get committed from Bonker. And alongside that, both support ultimates will be used just to stay alive throughout the Graviton surge coming from Ecliptic. And unfortunately, we lose the Zarya, but thankfully, of course, our team can absolutely duke it out without our tank. It's going to be a big, ugly trade-off, one at a time, but eventually, Spectre have the numbers to not only solidify the team fight, but also flip the point.
Ecliptic now getting off the Czar after, honestly, I think not a bad showing. Going over to the Malga instead, they want to kind of mirror the wall of meat that both teams now have here. But you look at the teams coming in this fight, you're going to have an Overclock and a Blade ready to go for Spectre. The only thing you're going to really have ready to go here for Ascendants is a Pulse Bomb. So you need to have that, find the right target here. It has to go on to someone like either those 2 DPS heroes here, because if you throw on one of those supports, I mean, you're just going to either get cleansed or, I mean, you could really afford to fight without a Lucio here if you're DYS.
You're right, and look how kind of split off the team is. You see the DPS are actually on the angle over here while the front line is being taken over by the Malga and has little to no support. The Blade comes through and we find the kill onto Bonker. We do, but only after losing our own Malga, which it does swap over to mirror the character. You know what? Just for safekeeping, we're going to go for the 3K. We're going to go for the Death Blossom, and we're going to not only do that, but cap the second map around here of Ruins.
And honestly, you could really look at that entire point where they're as Pig's Death Blossoms actually really helping their team out there. Yeah, you could talk about the first one they had where it only took out Wisdom there, but hey, that got them that first point cap, and they were able to kind of solidify their on point for a very long time, even forcing Ecliptic to get off the Zara, go over to their own Malga here. But now, you're going to have both those support ultimates ready to go here for DYS, so you're in a really good spot compared to what SCR has, with hopefully being able to build up to a cage at some point this fight, but you also have to be wary of environmental kills.
Oh, and it almost comes to fruition. If there was not a tank passive there, Dex, that would have been an environmental every day of the week. But Ascendants, again, really allowing that Pig Whip to just get so much free value on that Reaper. And that is going to be the fight win. Yeah, a little bit of a tactical reset. That was really funny. He just dived straight up.
That really felt like one of those moments right there where Ken probably thought, okay, I'm dead. I'm just going to, quickly try to hit enter not to watch the replay, and didn't die yet. But one thing that we've been seeing here these last couple points for SCR is the fact they're now playing as a team. And that's the one thing that really we didn't see on point 1 of this map and map 1 in general. We didn't see them play as a team. Now they're starting to play as a team, and look at the difference it's making.
Okay, well, there is one cage fire happening here. Team Bonker, the pulse bomb goes on the floor. Sound barrier does get committed here at the same time. Very smart from Twisted at the for Spectre here to stay alive in the engagement. Alongside that, we're going to layer that Dragon Blade right on top of it, knowing that Milo is not going to be able to proc the sound barrier in time. And get free value with that Dragon Blade as well. Spectre flip it at the 69% marker. Nice. And they're going to continue to have the cage fight and the rush coming into his next fight.
The only good thing that happened in that fight for SCR was the fact that Milo was able to get an environmental kill on the Domino. That was it. That's the only thing you can just talk about that fight there. You invested Cage and ended up losing it. Now DYS has their own Cage, has their own Kitsune Rush here. Yeah, you're going to have both of your support elements ready to go, but is it going to be enough to survive throughout this entire fight?
It's gonna have to be Pigwhip's going super low. Bonker getting completely run down. Has to retreat to safety of the coastline of the Kiriko, but gets immediately followed up again by Spectre. There's no way out. There's no way in. And my Kiriko is back. Okay, good. I thought we was gonna jump off the map for a second there. But with that being said, it's gonna be Spectre taking the fight win, and there's nothing Ascendants can do, at least this time. Next fight, though, they have resources.
Bonker charging away forced them to miss the beat. That was what lost that fight there for SCR. If Bonker gets that beat, it's a much longer fight. You can see SCR coming on top of it. Now, Spectre, they have a cage of their own and nothing to really stop it.
They certainly don't. They have to use this Blossom here. And in the meantime, there's a flip under the nose of Spectre. It comes on the wayside of Marlon, who is now following up, trying to pincer the backline a little bit here. But with that being said, it's only 1v4, maybe a 2v4 here, as there is Pixins also on the objective, taken out by Ken early, 92%. Marlon tries to go for a sneaky recontest around the coastline, but I'm not super confident it's going to come without any consequences.
Yeah, SCR probably should just give up this point here. I understand why they don't want to, but there wasn't going to be a good recontest here, and all of you were doing at that point is giving Spectre just ult charge and more kills in that kill feed. But right now, I mean, even with them kind of staggering themselves out here, that's all they're doing. Slowly sending themselves back to spawn.
Slowly but surely, and that spawn should be open for them to teleport to. No, it went away. His deck, so they're kind of in that little area on the right side, meeting up with the rest of the team of Ascendants, thankfully, as we move over to the next point of Gardens, right? Big open space. They have a lot of ultimates to work with as well. Pulse Bomb online from Marlon. The target needs to be solid here.
I mean, last time it found the ground, but I think it did its job, really leading to a fight win for DYS here. Pulse Bomb, though, looks like they want to get on the Wisdom, or at least try to force out the Suzu right there. But you look at the rest of the team. Consumer's already out here from Pixins, as Ascendants not afraid to get aggressive early. Twisted, though, responds to the beat.
Oh, I've been there, bestie. We clap the hands, we go nowhere. Ken slicing and dicing the back line. And that's the cleanup of all time. So unfortunate that with that Pixin's Swift Step just did not come out in time to negate Ken's Dragon Blade. But either way, Spectre, 20% already. Last round to completion of Servasa.
A pretty heavy investment by both teams there. 3 ultimates used by Spectre, 2 invested there by Ascendants. But right now, I mean, if you're DYS, you've always felt comfortable in control of the point throughout this entire series. I mean, you go back to map 1. Once they got control, it was hard for Ascendants to really do anything. Ascendants, they need to get something here, they need to get it fast, or else this point, and overall this map, is slowly going to start falling through their grasp.
Well, here's the engage, here's the now get cage fight, and there is Bonker with literally 75 HP left there, Dex, the entire time. Marlon teleports right into the shot of Wisdom, and it's just the poor old Reaper left here from Pigwhip, so it's just gonna be a slight stagger out. And there is 85% on the board, so there is an opportunity for a touch, but Spectre are working super far up here.
There's an opportunity for a touch, but it has to be Milo at this point, but I just don't see him even getting anywhere close to it, and no one does. I believe we saw a Tracer recall there at the last moment, but SCR Ascendants not able to get that touch there to proc overtime. Dystopia Spectre up 2-0 on series point here. Could SCR be looking at an early drop down into that lower bracket?
This is it. This is where it all comes down. You are back. You're down 0-2. Your backs are against the wall in this first to 3. It looks like Spectre looking absolutely fantastic going into map 3, looking confident. That's the biggest thing, is the confidence factor. You lose map 1, you're like, okay, you can't chalk up to a warm-up round. You kind of let it go. You bring it back in map 2. And then it turns out, map 2, you don't really quite bring it back. You lose 1 and 3 on Sarabasa in the mirror, or at least amalgam mirror to an extent, right? So now it comes down to mental. It comes down to bringing it back, confidence, not letting yourself succumb to those the possibility of losing. And again, like you said, it is at least double elimination, so they're not completely out of the tournament here. And Dex, we are going to go to a very quick little break, letting these guys breathe, pick where they want to go map 3, and see if a reverse sweep is in the cards for Ascendant. We are back after this break. And just like that, we are back here to see the possibility of the end of a fantastic series or the beginning of something beautiful in a reverse sweep fashion. Those are the options left here as we go into map number 3 of the Masters Tier, round 1 of playoffs. We have SCR Ascendants versus DYS Spectre, and it has been an absolutely complete just match here between these two. So back and forth, so even, but just Spectre constantly getting that edge over the Ascendant. So with that being said, map 3 Dex, looks like we're going over Circle Royale. Looks like we're going to be going just something more pokey. And how do we feel about this sudden shift in what could be a reverse sweep here?
I mean, right now, if you're SCR, you need to get away from playing those brawl maps, which is what we basically saw maps 1, maps 2 with it being brawl. Even though you saw maybe not the tanks you would normally expect for brawl, but it's definitely the tanks you are now seeing be used for a lot of brawl. I think going over something like this, a little bit pokey, a little bit more divey, might just play in SCR's hands here. But one thing throughout this entire series, I mean, DYS Spectre has been able to anytime that SCR starts to get a little bit of momentum, maybe it feels like they're evening up maybe how this series is going back and forth, Spectre just comes right back in and adds another level to it. And Ascendants, it takes them a little bit to get back into it. This map, especially with it potentially being our final map, Ascendants need to put it all together here, win a map, and really, they need to show us something that really puts Spectre in a spot where they don't know what to necessarily do. SCR Ascendants, they just need something to go their way here, and this has to be the map to do it.
It has to be. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Again, backs are against the wall. You're down 0-2. You decide, you know what, let's change the pace a little bit. The Orisa didn't work, or sorry, the Zarya didn't work, the Malga didn't work. Let's go something a little more pokier. Let's see if a Sigma might work, if a Ramatra and Orisa might work here on Circuit Royale, at least from the tank side of things. The DPS and support, very flexible on the map, I would say. You can play a plethora of different, hit scans or flex DPSs. And with that being said, speaking of hit scans, the #1 hit scan to take out of Circuit Royale can be the Widowmaker, and for a good reason. I mean, you really want her to free fire right down that nice, beautiful long alleyway or street phase of first, even second point to an extent. So SCR Ascendants coming in with that Widowmaker ban, and that leaves a tank or support ban for DYS Spectre to decide over.
I mean, I feel like Widowmaker's a really good ban here. However, I mean, it's the one-shot potential that you really are banning out for Widow on this map, just because, like you said, long sidelines in the first 2 points basically allows Widow to have almost a playground, but you leave Freya there, you leave Cass, you leave Hanzo, which, again, this has been one of the maps where you're starting to see Hanzo show up in a little bit of higher level play as well, so I'm not going to count seeing the Japanese bowman here, but right now, the supporter tank line here, it's going to be really interesting to see what DYS focuses on here, because you could immediately go over to a tank and say ban out something like potentially Ramatra. Here, again, a little bit pokey, a little bit brawly. That might be what you're expecting to see here, but no. It's going to be the Yari instead being banned out here. Honestly, this is one of Yari's best maps in the game. I think this is a really good ban coming out here.
I have to agree, I rarely ever see it in a Yari ban as well be so committed on Circuit Royale, and you know, that backline of the Yari and the Baptiste can be so dominant, especially on first, even second point to an extent, right? Giving those nice little angles, she has pylon spots up the wazoo, right? So it makes sense why I want to get rid of Yari as well as Widowmaker. Relatively same idea of just such a strong map for both of those characters and, of course, their play styles. So that kind of leaves a backline. It might just be the Kiriko Lucio once again. It could be a Bap Lucio, a Bap Zenyatta. We'll love to see that come back into fruition on Circuit Royale. But again, with no bans on tanks, I do kind of expect the return of maybe the Orisa, maybe even, as you also mentioned, the Ramatra being kind of a good hybrid hero of the poke and the brawl. But again, I really do, or Sigma, a classic, of course, can also be on the field here. But I think Spectre are very, I think they're okay with this Widowmaker ban because both of their DPSs have shown proficiency in so many other characters already.
Yeah, and especially when you think about what they've played. I mean, you've seen either Cassidy or Soj for the DPS or for the hit scan, and outside that's been Sim and Tracer. I mean, it's been a lot of just variety, so Widow being banned out necessarily I don't think hurts them much here. But right now, I mean, when we do go into map here, it's going to be really interesting to see what these two teams want to play, because yeah, we talked about poke. You could still play brawl. You talked about Orisa coming out. Zarya could still definitely come out here. We've seen some very interesting comps in the past. Again, I will say in the past with Lifeweaver being played on this map. Again, might be honestly still Lifeweaver's best map just in general, just because they're able to play around corners so well. But yeah, I think a lot of teams have gone away from that really one-off strategy here, especially on the first point. But Zarya could definitely be a potential, like you said. Orisa, I think, could still come out here, and especially if you're DYS, Orisa might be a way to go here, considering you go back to map 1 and look at how much that Orisa got shut down, which was almost never. It might be a good idea for you to start on that no matter what side you're on.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. There's just so much you can do here on Circuit Royale. You can also play it kind of funny and silly, where you can absolutely run it down on ball, which you've seen a couple of times in the past, CGL or not. people have run a ball right over that big building on the very beginning, and then you kind of disrupt that bridge area that so many teams have liked to set up on. Wait, we have a whole like team swap here, Dex. We have Eric subbing in on the DPS line. Cordy coming back through. Pig Whips is like, I'm tired of playing Reaper. I hate Reaper, Grandpa. I'm going over to the support line. And then Milo also going over to the support line as well. Or at least, I guess, to the support line.
Milo was already a support. They're just taking over for they're just taking over for Pixins here. So a lot of role swaps coming in here now for Ascendants. This kind of screams to me like this is a desperation play for them. Maybe this team is very flexible. Maybe they were trying something out of those first 2 maps. Maybe now they're going back over to the roles they're really more comfortable on. Cordy coming back in though. Remember they played Zarya throughout the entire first map. Wrecking Ball for a brief moment, but that was an attempt just to try to get a touch on that second point. Just didn't end up getting there. I think right now Ascendants, they are throwing a lot of stuff at the wall here, trying to figure out, can we figure out something here to shut down Spectre? Because, I mean, Spectre, no swaps here. They haven't really needed to make any throughout this entire series.
They haven't had to, because guess what? If it's not broke, don't fix it. They're all working so well together. They're really good as a team, as a unit, right? So they don't feel the need to swap. They don't feel the need that nothing they have is not working, and or they have the flexibility in heroes and hero pools to mitigate whatever SCR Ascendants are trying to throw their way, which is a skill set that is so underappreciated, I feel like, especially at the higher level. Even the mid-tier level, being able to be so flexible is so good, and in its own right, a good counter to so many teams that do like to play 1 or 2 solid compositions or styles of compositions. Like Ascendants love to play a brawl here, but they're showing us a poke. Ideally, they want to show us something different. They want to see if that would work instead against Spectre, and maybe deplete their resources before Spectre can walk onto them. Otherwise, as I mentioned, you mentioned the Freya earlier as a substitution for the Widowmaker, which is on the field here, and Cordy taking the classic Sigma. I love it. The humble Sigma is coming to play.
Right now, Ascendants is showing us just truly an entire poke defensive style here. Cordy's going to probably push up the furthest, but you can see Marlon with Milo right there, just firing take aim shots one after another here, trying to get as much damage as they possibly can. Spectre, though, 15 seconds here still to mess with us a little bit in spawn, but if they come out on this, it would be very, very fun to see, but it's going to be something that gets melted away very, very quickly if Ecliptic stays on this Rhine, just because, again, take aim shots will do a lot, but now you're starting to see them go over. And hey, you talked about seeing the Zen here, one of the best maps for Zen, just because of, hey, long sight lines, you get that barrage of orbs going your way. A couple headshots is all you need to take care of, you know, the majority of Ascendants here right now, but if you're Ascendants, you just need to buy time, buy space here, and you're really looking for Marlon to be able to do that there with some pressure from those take aim shots.
Yeah, I gotta agree with it. I love the Zen here from Twisted, truly one of my favorites to play on Sakura at the same time. But it looks like Ascendants are starting to kind of be bullied away from their high ground, at least losing this forward corner from Ecliptic, and now moving towards the bridge, nearing that staircase that descends back onto the actual level field, right? And now they're completely leaving the fray, going to the corner, the first corner. You gotta break through on this attack phase for DYS Spectre, and they're gonna try to do so by trying to look over at Eric, maybe look over at the support line. Otherwise, they're doing a really good job of kind of not really peeking Eric too much here on this Sojourn, because with that damage boost, that drill shot will take and eat your life bar so quickly. Bullet shot, by the way, Dex, already online in the first minute, and Marlon's gonna use it right here for the shield. Placed just slightly too behind, but thankfully that lamp does come in to negate any sort of advantageous pressure coming in from Ascendants.
The res is huge there, because without a Cordy, you could have easily seen just DYS continue to push up, but this Amp Matrix, oh, this is going to be costly.
Oh, it is. Not only do we have the Discord on that Sigma, really depleting Cordy's life pool so early, we also had Wisdom's Amp Matrix right there, pretty much on top of that Sigma, so there's no real surprise as to how they won that fight so close in quarter. But look at this, Dex, they're already moving up, at least 2 of them are up towards that initial corner of the point of Circle Royale.
And I like when attacking teams do this, actually put 2-3 members on the card to get up this hill, because this is a very hard point to cap if you end up losing a fight here as the attacking team. But Amage is now coming out here from Pig, and you need to be able to find a pick here, or else you're just going to get rolled in the preceding fight.
You see how fast they all left? I wish my players could do this. I wish my comp team could do this, I fear. They all left the defense matrix. You kind of saw that Pig was a little bit confused of where did everyone go. Because here comes the Transcendence, however, in response to the graphitic, or not response to, but on top of the graphitic flux coming in from Ecliptic, and this is just going to be another big fight win here for Spectre. I mean, you're playing against a backline of a Baptiste and a Mercy, and Milo can only do so much, and that's why you're seeing him off of the Mercy, going over to Life Weaver at the same time.
Like I said, that Amp Matrix there from Pig Whips really needed to be the thing that propelled SCR into a team fight when they're with it, finding nothing, and DYS, like you mentioned, kind of just backing out, letting that ultimate fade away. You saw what happened. They just kind of got rolled in the preceding fight here. Another bullet shot coming out here, but yet it's going to find just another ledge.
The Dragon Blade comes out, and you saw the rocket accretion coming from Accordi, but it barely whiffed because of the staircase, displacing Ken a tiny bit too far from that rock to get the stun off. Thankfully, Marlon cleans up the fray, getting rid of Ken, but this objective is still moving very briskly throughout third objective. You can see the side of Ascendants setting up on the high ground around the pool side, and they have Flux, they have Overclock. They just need to find an opening to use one, if not both, of these ultimates in the back pocket, and they're still waiting it out. More than halfway is that payload to the completion of third point, and here's the drop, here's the Flux, everyone slides out, but the rock comes in, canceling that Flux.
And that's just something you can't do right there if you're a Cord. You cannot poke your head back out. At least right now, though, the cleanup from their team is actually coming here. It's Eric finds two, looking for a third one here. But this is something that Ascendants desperately needed here. A team fight victory to go their way because, I mean, hell, they're about 50 meters away from the finish line here, Mott, and that's their first team fight victory this round. Granted, it did come at the cost of 2 ultimates, but hey, you needed something to go your way. And now, though, Ascendants gonna have 3 ultimates, another Amp Matrix, a tree, gonna be able to keep them alive in a pretty big fight here, especially as you look at the other side. Their own Amp Matrix, their own Transcendence, a Flux, a Overclock. Right now, Spectre is in setup mode here to complete the map with a huge time bank.
Yeah, 3 minutes and 40 seconds is nothing to scoff at. That is an absolutely insane amount of time to work with. They did scout out the rotation here around the coastline, forcing, or at least using that, oh my god! The bullseye gets eaten up by Cordy, who was just fluxing, or at least trying to just suck in whatever damage output was coming in from the Amp Matrix. Are you kidding me? The Tree of Life also comes through. Eric finds the kill onto Domino, though, shutting down the use of an Overclock in the defense phase, but as the rest of the team is pushing up, they're being completely sent back to the spawn room. Yeah, you're getting card progression, but the entire team is dying behind your back.
And again, a fight that Ascendants desperately needed there. But Mott, I don't think you understand how wild that bullet shot was. That was deflected back at them. That was from Marlon. Ken deflected it back at Accordi. It's insane. It's insane to see right there. That could have been a costly friendly fire opportunity, but now Spectre, they invested a lot in the last fight there. You see him making some swaps. Now, we're going over. Are we really going to Ryan here? They want to play a little bit more aggressive in your face, and hey, Ryan will be able to do that here throughout the rest of this map here. Ascendants, they're going to eventually have to come down to ground level with them, and that's what Spectre wants here. They want to fight on even ground, and Pig Whips can't be poking your head out like that.
No, not against a Sojourn who is looking to get some heads with not just Rail Shot, but also this Overclock that's still in the back pocket here, Dex. Only 3.5 meters from completion. Overclock gets used. The Reinhardt is making an appearance, and Accordi is back in that spawn area, not wanting to see such a feat. And on that note, we don't even touch the objective after Accordi went down.
Do we want to count that as a C9?
I mean...
I will let our producer decide if that's a C9, because I know he's one of the ones that has the graphic.
They have the button. Do you press the button, producer? It's up to you if that's a C9.
It's all up to you. Yep, nope, he is saying, nope, that is not a C9. That is not a C9. But, I mean, let's just talk about it. 2 minutes on the clock, Mott, especially on this map. This seems like one of those maps that either you finish it with no time on the time bank, or you just kind of, you know, peter out at the end and don't cap it. You're close, but don't. 2 minutes is almost unheard of. And now SCR Ascendants, who, again, it's the same thing. They started off slow, started to slowly pick it up as that round went on, especially towards the end. But now they have this time here where they can cool off, and I don't necessarily know if that's the best thing for them. They need to try to figure out what how they're going to be able just to get through this first point, because Spectre seems to know what they need to do to step it up here and force Ascendants back down to a spot where they struggle immensely coming out of the gate here. Marlon, though, showing us, at least teasing us with an Echo. No more Freya from them. I would not be surprised if Echo is here for maybe 1 or 2 fights, or maybe just trying to get a little bit over that building right there so they can fire those sticky bombs onto anyone who's on the bridge here. Try to find an early pick that way. But right now, you need something to go your way. Twisted, though, on the Zen, I think has been very, very crucial for their team. A lot of damage. The Discord over has been insane for them. And yeah, that's exactly what Marlon's going to do there. The sticky bombs. But I'm surprised they're actually sticking with it here for our life.
Yeah, at the same time, you have the Mercy with you at the very least, so you have a little bit of saving grace when you're in this airspace, and also, you know, you're playing Echo. Echo is probably relatively strong in the grand scheme of things at the moment, but at the same time, the fact that Spectre was so aware of that tech coming in, the shield was already put up to negate the sticky bombs, that was such good game sense, I will say, from Spectre coming through. Ascendants trying to replicate that kind of success that Spectre had, where they were able to push them off the high ground, but gonna be shut down very early on. Cordy tries to play the game, tries to make space on that staircase, but unfortunately does get taken out by the opposition very early on. Marlon does go over again, tries to find something. Doesn't find anything.
Yeah. And Matt, you have to remember, these two teams, they played only 2 weeks ago, the final week of the regular season. It was a 5-map series that SCR came out on top of. They know Spectre knows what to expect from Ascendants here. And right now, Ascendants is not necessarily stepping up to the plate here. Spectre's been able to make changes and have them hit immediately. Ooh. Ascendants, on the other hand, they maybe stick with stuff a little bit too long here, as you already lose Marlon.
You do lose Marlon, you also lose your Mercy, who's kind of completely stuck away from the team, completely separated from the Baptiste, separated from anyone that can help give any assistance to Milo. However, we're fighting back against Ken, who is overextended, trying to get greedy, trying to find another body to put in that kill count. Otherwise, we are going to see a Spectre respect that. You know what, we lost our Genji, we lost one member. We're going to go over to this first corner here that we love to hold on to the Royale. Unfortunately, Domino also kind of called out early on that staircase area. Couldn't even slide out to safety before Pig Whips does find elimination onto the character, and otherwise there is the subsequent elimination onto one half of the back line. Can we find the other shift fuse? And there is that focusing beat from Marlon, completely taking care of Wisdom.
And Cordy getting out alive is huge, and especially finding Ecliptic is great as well. However, I understand Ken overextended themselves there in that last fight. I think Domino was the one that was really costly to them, just being a little bit overextended. Ken was on their way back. You still have fought for that second or that first point, but with Domino being that far up, it really made that uphill fight for Spectre that they just weren't necessarily ready for, or they didn't really want to invest anything in. However, neither team, other than maybe the damage from Pig and now was damage from Wisdom, are now starting to invest a little bit, going uphill again. You do not want to lose a fight going uphill if you're the attacking team.
Oh, we see the Gravitic Flux come through. What a lamp, though, saving the Sigma for a little bit longer here. Here comes the reversal, finds nothing. We're going to pop the Transcendence anyway. Discord put on every single person within that area of the Transcendence, giving so much damage output to the entire team here. Losing Twisted, but you know what, why not? Marlon also having committed the duplicate, got the overclock, but that's all that she wrote, as the rest of Ascendants are going right back to that spawn room, using 3 big ults there.
Yeah, both teams invested pretty heavily into that fight there. I mean, honestly, you can't blame either one for it, but now if you're SCR Ascendants, this would be a time that if you're going to make swaps, it would be the time to do it. You see Twisted getting off of the Zen, going over to the Ana instead, and honestly, I think that's a great swap here. An anti-nade onto almost anyone in SCR. There's really no one on the other side that can really deal with it outside of Cordy here, and with how Eclipse has been playing this Sigma throughout this entire map, it's been very difficult for Cordy to find anything, but Eric has been a bright spot.
Oh, Eric finds both of the backliners, taking out Ana first, and then Wisdom. Marlon gets, traded off in the engagement, but that's still going to be a big win that Ascendants just needed here, Dex. They needed this fight win. They're going to get a res on Eric, so they have a 4v5 coming up, but Spectre, they just now respawn. They're not going to be able to get a consistent touch. It comes down to Twisted. We commit the Amp Matrix just in case, and that's the cap here, reigniting 3 minutes and 45 seconds in the clock.
I mean, honestly, if you're Spectre, you don't care that you just gave up point. you got rid of Amp Matrix, especially on this final point that opens up so much opportunities for Ascendants. They just got rid of one of their strongest ultimates on their side right now, essentially just for a last-second touch. I understand you want to get that cap, but again, it's one Lucio. And now, though, Spectre, you look at what they have. Overclock, Flux, an Amp Matrix of their own. Twist now going over to the Mercy themselves here. And these two teams, especially the support lines, really want to be mirroring each other throughout this map, it seems.
And it looks like Marlon is going to be the only one on the card while the rest of the team of Ascendants actually try to flip the map. And it comes to the dismay of Ascendants here. They lose out on Marlon. They're going to lose on everyone else because now they're suddenly completely surrounded by Spectre, who are, again, on the main angle. And they're punishing these guys for even trying to flip, trying to get that high ground, trying to get any sort of advantageous state against the defenders. Otherwise, though, we have two coming back in from the spawn room. So Spectre back up, play this corner once again.
And right now, still a little bit over 2 minutes left to go here. If you're Ascendants, you can take a couple fights here, build up some ultimates. You really need to start getting ultimates out from Spectre here right now, though. So you're going to have to probably invest one, but Domino, they don't need an investment. They're investing in themselves here.
Well, trying to the very least, try to get to that high ground, kind of got juked by the stairs and the wall and the half wall there, but thankfully still find at least one elimination in the way of iCordy, right? So that also leaves these the rest of the team kind of trickling on that high ground area, trying to not be super staggered out, but it might kind of end up being that way. Milo, as you can see, is really caught between a rock and a hard place. Thankfully, I was going to say, got behind the shield, but rail shot is rail shot, everybody.
And we've talked about throughout this entire series, this DPS line for Spectre is the real deal. You cannot leave yourself out in the open or else Domino is going to be able to get you and to make sure they get you good. Ken, though, they've been very flexible with who they've been playing throughout this entire series. Really good and Wisdom investing here again early on. It seems that Spectre understands the position they're in. They can kind of rotate through these ultimates as they're always building back up to other ultimates ready to go here now.
And they can always bet that Ascendants are going to use something in response, and it's going to be the duplicate from Ascendants with the real Dragon Blade coming in from Spectre, which cleans up the fray once more. Marlon is still in the backline, by the way, in this Sojourn duplicated state. Tries to find at least one, but Twisted breaking some ankles, getting to cover, and letting the rest of the team take care of the Echo.
iCordy has tried to flux Ken twice now when they blade, and both times have just missed. I understand that, like, you're trying to make sure you get rid of one person, but sometimes you just need to go after a little bit of a bigger fish. Some other people on the other team now, Ecliptic popping their own flux here, getting very low, but hey, hiding behind some cover to keep themselves safe.
And why not? The rock goes wide. Doesn't really find the deflecting Genji or the soldier on the in the entryway of third point Circle Royale. Overclock does open the fray, however, as we find the Mercy right there lacking, trying to float away to that initial corner. 35 seconds left on the clock here, Dex, and it's going to be an Ascendants team fight win here, but they need to do it all over again. At the very least, they have a window to boot themselves up going into this last phase of Circle Royale.
Yeah, and that Amp Matrix here from Pigwhips needs to be the biggest ultimate they have here, because this is final fight no matter what here for either side in this round. DYS, they don't really have any ultimates here. Domino's slowly building up, or quickly building up to an Amp Matrix, or their Overclock, but that Amp Matrix here needs to be able to find something here just to give Ascendants an opening.
Oh, I wish it was a little bit more wide, though. It's just a small in space to use that window in. That's why Domino Mass and Ken are both able to converge on the same targets and finds that backline. Domino Mass is over like it's shut down by iCordy, though. Can they make it? It's Milo going down. It's just iCordy there who does clean up the fray. There's a Raz happening right in front of your face, and it does come into fruition. Ecliptic is back in the fray, and there is a window. There is a win, and it's going to be a 3-0 for DYS Spectre, taking the series and moving on in the winner's side of the Master Division of CGL Season 16 playoffs.
And again, DYS now getting some revenge. A Map 5 loss in the final week of the regular season for these two teams was the difference in why SCR Ascendants were the higher seed coming into this game here. They get that 3-0 sweep, and I mean, Mott, we talked about it. At times it really seemed like SCR Ascendants were able to kind of match Spectre there. But they weren't ever able to keep it consistent or get over that hump and just keep that momentum going their way. It always seemed like that Spectre had another gear they could go to, while Ascendants, on the other hand, they were struggling to get out of second gear a lot of times, it seemed.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because they have such a good team. They have good fundamentals, and they're in playoffs for a reason, right? Like, they're so good, but sometimes it happens. It's the day, the hour, the patch, whatever it is. Sometimes things just kind of happen. Mouse connectivity issues, whatever it is. Today, DYS Spectre were the better team. The 3-0 coming into fruition. A 2-0 start on Lijiang Tower. Very close, though. We will make sure that we reiterate. Same thing with Saravasa finishing off 3-1, but each round could have gone either way between Ascendants or Spectre. It was just Victory Royale where that aggression, that team synergy really just put them over the top.
Yeah, and like I kind of mentioned, when you see that scoreline right there, Ascendants got better as the series went on. That was a normal thing that we were talking about. They just weren't ever able to get over the hump. And hey, maybe one more map would have been the thing for them here, especially as we look at bans coming out here. And honestly, we didn't necessarily see these players these heroes get played a lot outside of those two that were banned out map 1. We saw Kiri and we saw Genji pretty much throughout the rest of the series, but other than that, I mean, the bans make sense for what maps they were. It was just very interesting to see why some of these bans were probably picked here when there was probably some other problems they could have dealt with, but I felt like each team was trying to pick the right one, hoping it would work, and I feel like one team got the better end of the stick more times than not.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. These bans of Game 1 were so impactful because basically everyone went back to Genji and Kiriko in the subsequent maps, right? But yeah, you're right. You know, some of these map fans, wow, these character bans felt a lot more safe, especially in the context of the map themselves and not necessarily the other players and their favorite heroes and who they want to play. But that is the end of the series, but not quite the end of the broadcast. As always, we're going to get an interview for you guys. The first of the playoffs. Oh, so exciting. We're going to get somebody from the side of DYS Spectre to come over here, talk about about the highs, the lows, and the future of their match in the playoff series. With that being said, we'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes after the break. And just like that, we have our interviewee here. We have Twisted coming in, talking to us about the highs, the lows, and everything in between in this 3-0 series. And Twisted, I have to say, this has been a fantastic series for you guys. And how does it feel starting off your first round of playoffs with a win already under your belt, and a definitive one at that?
Yeah, it feels really good. Our practice has been a bit shaky, but I haven't really been there for a lot of it. But like after the first map, they won like one fight on the entirety of the first map, and I just kind of knew we'd won. Like our target focus was really good. I don't think there was ever a time where they were having better target focus than us, which is like the most important thing in this game. And we just kind of managed everything better. Our comp switches were really good. They were kind of just playing the same thing. So yeah, it feels really good. I'm confident, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that throughout the entire series here, especially with this being a little bit of a revenge game, since you guys did end up losing them in the final week of the regular season in a 5-map series there. I imagine that added a little bit of fuel to this matchup here.
Yeah, I wasn't able to play for that one, but like from what I heard, we like basically started the first 2 maps out in the same fashion, and then like we didn't play too good on the last 3 maps. I'll keep it PG-13. We didn't play too good on the last 3 maps. We kind of got overconfident. So I think it's very important to stay like focused and in the zone, and kind of don't let the entire like game get to you. Just let the map get to you, you know.
Absolutely, and we saw that throughout this entire series. We were talking about it where whenever it seemed like they were getting maybe one step up on you guys are always able to find something else, especially that DPS line that you guys had. It seemed like no matter what, if they had someone in their sights, they were dead before we could even say their name. I mean, especially playing with a DPS line like that and a tank player like you guys had throughout this entire series with Ecliptic. I mean, what does that kind of feel, or what does that kind of feel like when you have them all firing on all cylinders?
Yeah, I mean, the game just feels really easy for me. Like, all I had to do is just kind of calm who we were meant to be killing, and then anything between fights. Like, I've played with Ecliptic for like 5 years. I've been to the guy's wedding. Like, I wouldn't want to play with any other tank than him. So it's like pretty confident, and his like hero pill's gotten a lot better recently. Even our DPS was saying that they didn't play good, which I'm like, you know, I kind of don't believe them. But you know, if that's not up to standard for them, then I don't know what their playing good is like.
Yeah,
but yeah,
if they're saying they're playing
they're doing a bit of a misinformation spreading. But the game is just really easy for me when things like that happen, and then I get to focus on like calming, ult tracking, like what are we gonna do next fight, etc. So yeah.
I know for sure. I love that you kind of called out your DPS. They're like, no, they played great. I don't know what they're talking about. They're crazy for that. But no, in that sense, right? You guys did absolutely fantastic today, getting the 3-0 here. And were there? I have 2 questions left. Just this one and then the next one, right? I want to know, were there any doubts at all, especially knowing that the last time you guys played, you guys unfortunately got reverse swept, you know, kind of got a little bit too overconfident. What were the plays you guys made as a team to make sure you kept your mentals in check, make sure you kept your confidence in check, and not get too cocky going into map 3?
Like the main thing is that whenever I've been playing on this team, we've never really I've never felt like we were the worst team. It's just always kind of been like we do very stupid things and lose to ourselves rather than other teams. And as soon as people would talk about the other team, like, oh, they're going to sub in this player, like, this player done this last time, it was just kind of like, it doesn't matter, because if we play our own game, we're going to win anyways. Like, focusing on you is the only thing you can do in games like this, so I think that's it. And also, we had, like a different lineup, and our target column was apparently better. I've had a lot of things going on, so I haven't been able to play with the team recently, but they seem to be playing a lot better. I think everyone's kind of locked in for playoffs, I guess. Everyone's kind of started to realize that, you know, if you lose, that's it, type of thing, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like you guys all leveled up between the regular season and into playoffs. It's just such a short amount of time either way, so it's very impressive. And again, very impressive showing for your week 1 of playoff matches. Of course, there's many coming your way in the next couple of weeks, but either way, I'll let you go with one last question, and that, of course, is who do you want to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
I don't know. I would say my other support. He played really good today. We haven't scrimmed a lot together, and he's still putting a good performance. He made my job really easy. I don't know. Shout out to Ecliptic as well. I love that guy. That's two. I've taken my privileges there.
Thank you so much for your time. Very appreciated. Give a big congratulations to the team from us at the desk, and we'll see you hopefully for some other playoff matches throughout the rest of playoffs. See you guys in a little bit.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice night.
Have a good one.
Too bad.
I forgot he was
Well.
E. I was like, night. So true, bestie. But yeah, Dex, a good series, wasn't it? Really good series.
Yeah, a really good series for DYS. Again, like you kind of said, they got up 2-0 against SCR in their last match of the regular season before SCR came back and reverse swept that one here. So, I mean, SCR does have that potential to make big plays, be consistent on it, and even start to beat teams like DYS. But SCR now drops down to that lower bracket here with the loss here. DYS now will move on to play the winner of Brigged Up or Dragon's Gravity. Brigged Up, #1 overall seed here. Only one loss throughout the entire regular season here. And if I'm also correct, I believe they won the mid-season if I'm looking at the standings right, but I might be wrong. But, I mean, still, they have a tough matchup ahead of them here, but if DYS plays like how they play tonight against no matter who they go up against, they are going to be a hard out here in this upper bracket.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. And then on the other end of things, we have SCR Ascendant waiting on the loser of Brigged Up and Dragons as well, right? So it's like the lower bracket is going to look like an absolute hellhole going down there. Either one that are up in that winners round 1 that goes down, it's gonna be a big one for Ascendants to come and overcome in the next couple of weeks. But they can absolutely do so. As you mentioned, they have that reverse sweep factor. They have the toolkits and the mechanics to back that type of gameplay up and get the win, hopefully, in that lower bracket. But it's gonna be a very hard path that they're gonna take for themselves. But would not have it any other way. It's playoffs for a reason. It's the Masters tier. Everyone is out looking for blood, looking to get the win, no matter what.
Absolutely. And hey, this was only the first game of the playoffs here. There's going to be a lot more EU and NA action throughout the next couple days and the next couple weeks. So hey, make sure you follow the Twitch channel here to make sure you guys know whenever we go live. And hey, go follow the other ones as well as CGL_2 and CGL_3 because we might end up using some of those ones throughout this playoff run here.
And we absolutely have in the past. Sometimes there's just a bunch of people, we're all casting at the same time, wanting to get as much action as possible. But with that being said, as once again, please follow all of CGL's socials, getting updated on when we're doing all of the divisions for their playoff brackets. But otherwise, that is all I have for the broadcast. That's all we have for you guys series-wise. And we'll see you guys in the next couple of days and, of course, later in the next couple of weeks, following every single one of these divisions, every single one of these teams in the CGL S16 playoffs. See you guys later and have a wonderful one.